Hi, I'm Eileen. I'd like to share a story. For 8 years, I was the director of an AmeriCorps volunteer program. The program offered young men and women um, to live in community with other volunteers while serving the needs of the poor. They shared their meals, they had community nights, and offered any assistance to each other. It was more than just sharing an apartment, it was sharing a life together. As they worked full time in the community serving the poor, they worked at shelters, at daycare centers, at hospitals, wherever, but in the city. And the volunteers received a place to live, a financial stipend, and health insurance. One year, the volunteers lived in an old building of a convent where nuns used to live. They didn't live there anymore. And the volunteers lived on the second and third floor of this building. The first floor was a daycare, an adult daycare center that had nothing to do with our program. They rented the first floor and we rented the second and third floor. The volunteers, when they would leave for work, leave the house and pass the community rooms where the staff were working with their clients. And then when they came home, again, they would pass that going down the hall. They eventually got to know the staff there and then the clients. And before you know it, they weren't going right back up to their room. They were helping out with the clients and helping and assisting and chatting with the clients and the staff. They didn't have to do that. It was not an expectation. It was not a commitment to our program. It was something that they chose to do. And it was because of their desire to want to serve the needs where they were. And it helped enrich who they were and enrich their year of service. The volunteers do connect with each other kind of quickly, sometimes a little stressfully, but eventually it does work out. Um, and working with the clients in the city is not an easy task either. So they needed a lot of support and a lot of care for one another. Um, this one year, there was a volunteer rather, who was not of the same faith as the rest of the volunteers, but she would go to church with them on Sundays. And then she stopped doing that and she would stay home. And the volunteers began to realize that she not only stopped going to church with them, she wasn't going to any church, and she was pulling away from the community. She didn't want to participate in the community nights. She would say she wasn't hungry and she wouldn't eat a meal with them. So they began to realize this and searched out a church of her faith and said, we can do this. They went to her and they said, we found this, and here's Church of your faith, and we'd like to go to church with you. And she was so taken aback, and it worked. It worked well. And it was a turning point for her. And it was actually a turning point for the volunteers too, in their outreach to this person. I have seen the 1 year experience the volunteers have last well beyond that 1 year of service. And I have come to realize that each year not only brings another group of volunteers, but also another opportunity for an awakening to how God works through each of us. Thank you.